The door was locked from the outside, not latched, locked with a bolt, like someone wanted to make sure she couldn't get out or that no one would get in. He broke it open with a crowbar. The metal snapped, the door swung in, and the smell hit him first. Urine, blood, something sour and wrong. Then he saw her. A German shepherd, lying on the tile, both back legs bent at angles that make his stomach turn. She wasn't crying, wasn't whimpering, just breathing, fast and shallow, like she'd learned that making noise didn't bring help. When he stepped forward, she moved, dragged herself toward him with her front legs, teeth bared, growling, trying to make herself big, trying to scare him away. But halfway across the floor, the growl broke. Her body gave out. She collapsed onto her chest, panting, still staring at him. And he understood. She wasn't attacking. She was begging him not to come closer, because every person who ever came closer had hurt her. He'd heard about her 4 days earlier. A woman at the market mentioned it, said there was a dog in the old factory building, said her back legs looked broken, said she'd been there for at least a week, maybe longer, said no one could get near her. He didn't go that day, told himself it wasn't his responsibility, that animal control would handle it, that someone else would step in. But that night, he couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about her, alone in that building, in pain, waiting for help that wasn't coming. So he went. The building had been abandoned for years. The windows were boarded. The walls were covered in graffiti. Inside, the air was cold and damp, and the only light came from cracks in the ceiling. He followed the sound of breathing, shallow, rapid, coming from the end of the hallway. The bathroom door was closed. He touched the handle, and that's when he felt it. The bolt, locked from the outside. Someone had sealed her in on purpose. His hands shook as he forced it open, and there she was. A German shepherd, young, maybe 3 years old. Her coat was matted with filth and dried blood. Her back legs splayed out behind her, twisted, useless. The bones were wrong. Even from the doorway, he could see they were shattered. She lifted her head, looked at him, and then she tried to stand. She couldn't. Her back legs didn't move, but she pulled herself forward anyway, claws scraping against the tile, front legs straining, her whole body shaking with the effort. She was growling, low, guttural, her ears pinned flat. But her eyes weren't angry. They were terrified. He stayed in the doorway, didn't move, didn't speak, just let her see him. It took a full minute before her growl faded, before her body stopped shaking, before she collapsed back onto the tile, too exhausted to keep pretending she had any strength left. He crouched down, slowly, kept his hands visible. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said. She didn't believe him. Why would she? He pulled a piece of bread from his pocket, tore off a small corner, tossed it gently onto the floor between them. She stared at it. Her nose twitched, but she didn't move, didn't reach for it. She'd learned not to trust food from strangers. He tossed another piece, closer this time. She watched him, watched the bread, and finally, she stretched her neck forward and took it, fast, defensive, like it might disappear. He let out a breath. "Good girl," he whispered. He pulled the cardboard box closer. She flinched at the sound but didn't retreat. There was nowhere left to go. The corner was already pressed against her spine. And as he slowly reached toward her, he realized something that made his chest ache. She wasn't deciding whether to trust him. She was deciding whether dying here was worse than whatever came next. He moved slowly, one hand extended, palm down. Let her smell him first. She pulled her head back, lips trembling, but she didn't snap. He slid his hands under her chest. Her whole body went rigid. A sound came from deep in her throat, not a growl, not a whimper, something between a warning and a plea. "I know," he whispered.
I know it hurts." He lifted her carefully. She was heavier than he expected, maybe 60 pounds, but lighter than she should have been. He could feel her ribs through her matted fur, feel how thin she'd become. Her back legs hung limp, dragging. He tried to support them, but there was nothing to support. The bones shifted under his hands in ways that made him nauseous. He lowered her into the box as gently as he could. She didn't fight, just went completely still, eyes locked on his face, waiting for the pain she knew was coming. It didn't come. He stepped back, let her breathe, let her realize he wasn't holding her down. Her eyes stayed on him, wide, unblinking, confused. He started to close the top of the box just to keep her secure, and that's when she panicked. She thrashed, clawed at the cardboard, her front legs scrambled, trying to pull herself up and out. Her breathing turned frantic, sharp, desperate gasps. Hey, it's okay," he said quickly. He opened the flaps wide, left them loose. "See? You can see out. I'm not trapping you." She stopped, pressed herself flat against the bottom, panting so hard her whole body shook. He realized then what the vet would tell him later. Animals who've been confined in pain learned that enclosed spaces means suffering, that darkness means abandonment. She thought he was burying her. "You're okay," he said softly. "I promise, you're okay." He picked up the box. She tensed again, but didn't struggle, just lay there, staring up at him, her breathing still too fast. As he carried her down the hallway, through the broken building, into the sunlight, he felt her trembling, not from cold, from fear so deep it had replaced everything else. She'd been locked in that bathroom for at least a week, maybe longer, in the dark, in pain, with broken legs and no way out. And the worst part, the part that made his throat tighten, was that someone had done it on purpose. Someone had locked that door. Someone had walked away. He set the box carefully in the passenger seat of his car, secured it with the seatbelt. She was still staring at him, still waiting for him to become the person she expected. He closed the door gently, started the engine, and as he pulled onto the road, he glanced over at her. She hadn't moved, hadn't looked away. She was still deciding if this was rescue or just a different kind of trap. The drive was 2 hours. He kept glancing over at her. She hadn't moved since they left, just lay there with her head pressed against the cardboard, eyes half open, staring at nothing. He tried talking to her, soft, steady words, told her where they were going, told her about the hospital, told her she was safe now. She didn't respond, didn't even look at him. The road was rough. Every pothole made the box shift, and every time it did, her eyes would snap open, alert, waiting for the next bad thing. Around the halfway point, he stopped at a gas station, bought water and plain crackers. He opened the passenger door carefully and crouched beside the box. "You thirsty?" he asked. He poured water into his cupped hand, held it near her muzzle. She stared at it. Her tongue moved slightly. She was thirsty, he could see it, but she wouldn't drink, wouldn't take anything directly from him. So he poured a little onto the bottom of the box, near her mouth. After a long moment, she licked at it, quick, cautious laps, like even drinking felt dangerous. He set a cracker near her nose. She looked at it, but didn't touch it. Back on the road, the sun started to set. The sky turned orange, then deep purple, then black. He kept checking on her. She still hadn't moved. It wasn't until later, until he'd spoken to a vet, that he learned something that changed how he saw her stillness. Animals in severe pain don't cry for help. They go quiet, silent. Because in the wild, showing pain means becoming prey. It means death. She wasn't resting. She was trying to survive by becoming invisible. By the time they reached the hospital, it was past 9. The building was lit from inside, but the parking lot was empty. He carried the box up the stairs carefully, trying not to jostle her. The receptionist looked startled when she saw him. "We're closed," she started. Then she saw the box, saw his face. "Bring her in." He set the box on the examination table. A vet came out from the back, still in street clothes. She looked into the box and went very still. "What happened?" "I don't know," he said. "Found her locked in a bathroom. Both back legs are broken." The vet leaned closer. Royce's ears flattened. Her lip curled slightly, but she didn't snap, just watched. "We can't do x-rays tonight," the vet said quietly, "but we'll keep her here. She'll be warm, safe. We'll assess her in the morning." He nodded, looked down at Royce. She was still staring at him, not with trust, not yet, but maybe, just maybe, with the smallest crack in her certainty that every human was the same. Because for the first time in however long she'd been suffering, someone had carried her toward help, and she didn't know what that meant. The vet called him at 6:30 in the morning. "Can you come in?" Her voice was careful, too careful. "We finished the examination." He was there in 15 minutes. Royce was still in the box, now lined with a clean blanket. She was awake, watching the door. When she saw him, her ears twitched forward for just a second, like she recognized him, then pinned back again. The vet led him into a small office, closed the door, pulled up the x-rays on a light box. He didn't need her to explain. Both back legs were shattered, not broken cleanly, shattered. The bones looked like spider webs, fractured into so many pieces he couldn't count them. "Comminuted fractures," the vet said quietly. "Both femurs, both tibias." "Can you fix it?" The silence that followed was the worst sound he'd ever heard. "No," she finally said. "There's nothing to fix. The bones are too damaged. Surgery would cause more harm than good. She'd be in constant pain. Infections would be almost guaranteed." He stared at the x-rays, at the fragments scattered like broken glass inside her legs. "So what happens to her?" The vet turned to face him. "Her organs are healthy. She can eat, drink, urinate, defecate. She's not dying, but without her back legs—" She paused. "Her muscles will atrophy. Over time, she'll lose more control. She'll need constant care." "But she can live?" "If she stays mobile, if someone commits." He thought about the locked door, the cold tile, the way she'd tried to drag herself toward him, even with shattered legs, just to protect the only corner she had left. "What if no one does?" he asked. The vet looked at him, didn't answer, because they both knew. "What are her chances?" he asked. "Of surviving? Good, with proper care. Of living comfortably?" She hesitated. "It depends on whether she can adapt. Some dogs do well with mobility aids. Others shut down completely." He looked through the window at the box on the table, at the German shepherd who'd been locked away and left to die quietly where no one would have to see her. "I'll get her a wheelchair," he said. The vet's eyes softened. "You're sure?" "She didn't give up in that bathroom," he said. "I'm not giving up on her." The vet nodded slowly. "Then we'll take measurements today. It'll take about a week to build." He went back into the exam room, crouched beside the box. Royce was watching him again, her breathing shallow, fast. "Hey," he said softly, "you're stuck with me now." She didn't react, didn't blink, but something the vet had just told him echoed in his mind. Most animals with injuries this severe would have given up days ago. She should have stopped fighting, stopped trying, but she hadn't. And maybe that meant she was still waiting for something worth staying alive for. He just had to prove to her that something existed. The measurements took 15 minutes.
The vet and the technician worked carefully, placing a soft tape around Royce's chest, her hips, the length of her spine. She flinched at every touch but didn't resist, just pressed herself flatter into the blanket, eyes squeezed shut, like she could make herself disappear. "She's a good size for a chair," the vet said quietly. "The frame should support her well." He watched from the doorway, watched the way Royce held her breath every time someone's hand came near, like breathing might remind them she was there. When they finished, the vet handed him a care sheet, instructions for the week while they waited. "She'll need to stay here," she said. "We'll monitor her, make sure she eats." "Can I visit?" "Every day if you want." He did. Every morning before work, every evening after. He'd sit beside her crate and talk to her, not about anything important, just talk. About the weather, about his day, about the wheelchair being built somewhere across town. She never responded, never wagged her tail or leaned toward him, but on the third day when he arrived, she was already looking at the door, waiting. On the fifth day, she ate while he was in the room. The staff said that was progress, that she'd been refusing food unless she was completely alone. But that morning, she'd taken small bites of chicken while he sat 2 feet away, not looking at him, but tolerating him. "She's starting to trust you," the vet said. He wasn't sure about that. Trust felt too big, but maybe she was starting to believe he wasn't going to hurt her. That was something. On the 7th day, the wheelchair arrived. He picked it up from the workshop, a custom-built frame with 2 wheels, padded straps, adjustable height, lightweight, sturdy. The man who made it showed him how to fit it, how to adjust it as her body changed. Some dogs take to it right away, others need time. Be patient with her. He nodded, carried it to his car, drove straight to the hospital. When he walked in with the wheelchair, the vet smiled. "Let's try it," she said. But he hesitated, looked through the window at Royce, curled in the back corner of her crate, head tucked against her chest. "What if she can't do it?" "Then we go slow," the vet said gently. "But she can't stay still much longer. Her muscles are already weakening." She didn't finish the thought. She didn't have to. If Royce didn't move soon, she'd lose the ability to move at all. He took a breath, nodded. They opened the crate door. Royce looked up at them, at the strange metal thing in his hands, and he saw it in her eyes, the same look she'd had in that bathroom, the look that said she'd survived this long by expecting the worst, and she was right every single time. He wasn't giving up on her, and maybe that's the part that stays with you, the refusal to walk away when it would have been easier. If stories like this matter to you, if you want to see what happens when someone stays, subscribe, because Royce's story isn't over yet, and neither are the others still waiting. The vet brought her out of the crate. Royce didn't fight. She'd learned fighting didn't change anything. She just went rigid as they lifted her, placed her gently on the padded exam table. The wheelchair sat beside her, chrome wheels, black wheels, straps hanging loose. He adjusted the height while the vet held her steady. Royce's eyes tracked every movement. Her breathing came fast and shallow. Her pupils were wide, too wide. "Okay," the vet said softly. "Let's get her in." They lifted her hind end first, slid the frame beneath her. Her useless legs hung limp in the support sling, and for a moment he had to look away, had to swallow hard. They guided her front legs through the chest strap, buckled it across her shoulders, and that's when she started trembling. Not shaking, trembling. Her whole body vibrating so violently he could hear her collar jingling. Her mouth opened slightly, panting now, tongue hanging out. "It's okay, girl," he whispered. "You're okay." But she wasn't okay. She tried to pull backward, couldn't. The straps held her.
She twisted her head, trying to see what was trapping her, and her front legs scrambled against the table, claws scraping metal. Then she urinated. A warm stream spread across the table. She froze, eyes wide, staring at nothing. And the shame in her body, the way she went completely still, ears flat, head down, broke something inside him. How many times had she been restrained like this? How many times had someone held her down while she begged them to stop? "Hey," he said, his voice cracking, "it's not your fault. You're just scared. I know." The vet cleaned the table quickly, quietly, didn't react, didn't make a sound, just wiped it away like it meant nothing. They lowered Royce to the floor. The wheels touched down. She stood, barely, her front legs locked straight, her back end suspended in the sling, frozen. She didn't move, didn't even try, just stood there, trembling, tail tucked so tightly it pressed against her belly, head low. He crouched in front of her, eye level. "You can do this," he said quietly. "I know you can." He pulled a treat from his pocket, held it out. She looked at it, looked at him. Her eyes were glassy, unfocused. He set it on the floor in front of her, a foot away. She stared at it, didn't move. The vet adjusted the straps, made sure nothing was pinching. "The frame's good," she said softly. "She just needs to figure out how it works." He placed another treat, a little farther. Royce's nose twitched. She shifted her weight forward, just slightly. One front paw lifted, hesitated in the air, came down 6 inches ahead. The wheels rolled. She froze, eyes went even wider, like the ground had betrayed her. "Good," he breathed. "That's so good." But she didn't take another step, just stood there, locked in place, her whole body begging him to make it stop. And he realized something that made his chest ache. She wasn't learning to walk. She was learning to endure. Again. They tried again the next day. This time they brought her to a longer hallway, more space, less pressure. The vet held a handful of small chicken pieces, plain, boiled, soft. Royce stood in the wheelchair, frozen, same position as yesterday, front legs locked, tail tucked, breathing too fast. He knelt a few feet in front of her, held out a piece of chicken. She looked at it, at him, at the floor, didn't move. He set the chicken down, right in front of her nose. She leaned forward, stretched her neck, took it without moving her feet. He placed another piece, just out of reach this time. She stared at it. He could see her thinking, deciding if it was worth it, worth the fear. Finally, she lifted one paw, set it down carefully. The wheels rolled. She stopped, looked back at them like they'd betrayed her, but the chicken was still there. She took another step, then another. Awkward, unsteady, the wheels wobbled as she misjudged her weight. But she was moving. "Yes," the vet whispered. "Good girl." They kept going, one piece at a time. 5 feet, 10. She moved like she was walking on ice, careful, uncertain, waiting for something to crack beneath her. But she didn't stop. Not until she reached the end of the hallway. And then, without warning, she turned around. Not toward them, toward the exam room, toward her crate. She started moving, faster this time. The wheels clicked against the tile as she picked up speed, her front legs pulling, the wheelchair rolling behind her. "Wait," the vet said. But Royce didn't wait. She pushed through the doorway, crossed the exam room, stopped at her crate. She looked back at them once, just once, then lowered herself to the floor and crawled inside. The hallway went quiet. He stared at the empty doorway, at the space where she'd just been. "Did she just—" the vet started. "She ran," he said softly. "She ran back." They walked to the exam room, looked inside the crate.
Royce was pressed into the back corner, sides heaving, but her eyes, they weren't panicked anymore, just tired, watching them. She'd made a choice. She'd moved on her own. She'd gone somewhere. And she'd chosen to come back. The vet's voice caught. That's actually incredible. He nodded, didn't trust himself to speak, because she was right. Not because Royce had walked far, not because she'd mastered the wheelchair, but because she'd remembered where safety was. She'd remembered the route, had trusted the wheels enough to carry her there. For the first time since he'd found her locked in that bathroom, she hadn't just moved away from something. She'd moved towards something. Her crate, her corner, the one place that felt like hers. It wasn't trust yet. Maybe it never would be. But it was belief. Belief that she had a place to return to and that no one would take it away. A week later, Royce left the hospital. Her sister arrived in the morning. She was younger than him, soft-spoken, with kind eyes that filled with tears the moment she saw Royce in the wheelchair. "Oh," she whispered. "Oh, sweetheart." Royce watched her from across the room, ears forward, cautious but not panicked. "She's been through so much," her sister said. "I know." He crouched beside Royce, adjusted the wheelchair straps one last time. "But she's stronger than anyone thought." His sister had already prepared everything: a quiet room with soft bedding, another dog at home, a gentle golden retriever named Sunny, who'd grown up around nervous fosters. The vet gave final instructions: dietary needs, bathroom assistance, how to check the wheelchair fit as Royce's body adjusted. "Call me if anything changes," she said. Then she knelt beside Royce. "You're going to a real home now, girl. A safe one." Royce didn't react, just stared straight ahead. The drive to his sister's house was short, 20 minutes through quiet streets. Royce sat in the back seat in her wheelchair, secured carefully. She didn't tremble this time, just watched the world pass through the window. Trees, houses, people walking dogs. Things she maybe thought she'd never see again. When they arrived, his sister carried her inside, set her down gently in the living room. Sunny approached immediately, tail wagging slowly, nose extended, curious but calm. Royce went completely still. Sunny sniffed her, sniffed the wheelchair, circled once, then sat down 3 feet away and waited. It took 5 full minutes before Royce moved, just a slight lean forward, nose twitching, gathering information. Sunny didn't push, just sat there, patient, like he understood. His sister smiled, wiping her eyes. "I think they'll be okay." Over the next few days, he visited often, watched Royce slowly explore the house. She moved more confidently now in the wheelchair, still hesitant, still glancing back to make sure her safe corner was still there. But she was moving. She learned where the food bowls were, where the water was, where the sunlight came through the window in the afternoon and warmed the floor. And slowly, so slowly, she began to let his sister touch her. Just a hand on her head, a gentle stroke down her back. She didn't lean into it, not yet, but she didn't pull away either. On the 4th day, he found her lying in the hallway, not in a corner, not hiding, just lying there in a patch of sunlight, head up, watching Sunny sleep nearby. "She's settling," his sister quietly said. "I can feel it." He nodded, felt that familiar ache in his chest. Because Royce wasn't healed, wasn't whole, her legs would never work, her fear wouldn't just disappear. But she was here, in a warm house, with soft voices, with another dog who didn't ask anything of her. She was here, and she was starting to believe she could stay. 4 weeks passed. He visited on a Saturday afternoon, found his sister in the backyard with both dogs. Sunny was sprawled in the grass. Royce sat near the fence in her wheelchair, face tilted toward the sun, eyes closed. "She goes outside now,"
his sister said softly. Every morning, sits right there for almost an hour. He watched Royce for a long moment. Her breathing was slow, steady. Her ears relaxed, not scanning for danger anymore. "How is she?" he asked. "Better," his sister's voice caught slightly. "She lets me brush her now, doesn't flinch as much when I move too fast. And yesterday she took food from my hand." His throat tightened. "Really?" "Really." She paused. "She's still nervous, still has bad days where she won't leave her corner, but she's not shutting down anymore. She's not just surviving." They took Royce to a grooming appointment that week. She trembled in the car, but didn't urinate, didn't panic. The groomer, a woman who specialized in special needs animals, worked slowly, talking to her the entire time. When they picked her up, Royce's coat was clean, soft. She smelled like lavender. "She did so well," the groomer said. "Scared, yes, but she let me help her." Let me help her. The words felt enormous. 2 weeks later, his sister called. "I have news," she said carefully. "My friend, the one at the rehabilitation center, she thinks Royce's legs might be treatable." He went still. "What?" "Not fully, not like before, but there's a surgeon who does experimental work with severe fractures. She thinks there's a chance Royce could regain some function, maybe not walking, but something." He didn't know what to say. "It's expensive," his sister continued, "and there's no guarantee. She might go through surgery and still never walk, but if there's even a small chance, then we try," he said. That evening he visited Royce, sat on the floor beside her while she rested in her wheelchair. She looked at him, held his gaze. He reached out slowly, placed his hand near her head. She watched his hand, watched his face, and then, so gently he almost missed it, she leaned forward, just an inch, just enough that her forehead pressed against his palm. He froze, afraid to breathe, afraid to move. She stayed there, eyes closed, leaning into his hand. It wasn't much. It wasn't a miracle. She was still broken, still learning what safety meant, still carrying the weight of that locked bathroom, those shattered legs, that corner she'd defended with everything she had left. But she'd chosen to close the distance. She'd chosen him. He sat there with her as the sun set through the window, as Sunny wandered over and lay down beside them, as his sister watched from the doorway, tears streaming down her face. Royce's future was still uncertain. The surgery might fail. She might never walk again. She might always carry the scars. But right now, in this moment, she was warm. She was safe. She was loved. And for the first time in her life, she believed it. If you made it this far, thank you for staying. Not every rescue ends with perfect healing. Not every story erases the pain, but every single one matters, because love doesn't fix everything, but it makes everything bearable. If stories like Royce's mean something to you, if you believe the broken ones deserve to be seen, subscribe, because these animals don't just disappear when the video ends. They stay with us, and that's how we remember why this work matters.